Hi, welcome. Welcome to part 12 of the Add Types to Enquirer series. And well, without further ado, let's jump right into it. So, where we at? Last time we were at the we work on the basic of, and then we realized that the basic of does not have the initial property, or it does not honor it. If we think about it, it makes sense, right? So in our types, we have to separate the base type, the type question, from the regular type question, and then the type with a initial, with the initial property, so that the basic of question will inherit from base, and all others inherit from the initial. So and then off the video, I fixed the test, so you can see that there's no more errors in the test, and they all pass. So now let's continue the journey and work on the other types, shall we? All right, so let's scroll all the way to the top again. So the built-in prompts. It doesn't even let me go there. Come on. It doesn't let me go there. Damn it. Okay. Let me open it again. Go down, scroll down, built-in prompts. Interesting. So it seems like the that link doesn't work. Okay, this one does. So that's good. So we have done with the base of, and then we were hunting down the kind of prompts that doesn't have anything to do with array. And so we go through it, and let's take a look. This list, the type comma separated keywords, that definitely is an array. We don't want to deal with that yet. And so the same for the sort and select. Going back, this doesn't work over here. Quickly, come in. So the list, multi-select, all of this is something that we don't want to deal with right now. The form is probably even more complicated. And so we have the quiz, right? So let's take a look quiz and the scale and things like that. So the quiz, this is returning a simple answer, I guess. What interesting thing is in the example that we just saw, it does not have a names and then correct answer and all this, so this looks kind of weird, the example. So to understand a little bit more, let's take a look at the actual behavior. So let's say quiz, and then the name countries, and then how many is okay. Let me copy this over, and then now the choices would be, let's copy them over. Correct choice. That's kind of okay, interesting. So let's run it. Node test.js. So countries, and then selected answers is that, and correct answer is that, correct is true. Okay. So, and then when we select the wrong one, it still show the correct answer, and the select the answer and correct is false. Right. So the logic is simple enough. It is really a quiz. It's interesting, and then the result is a fixed result. Let's take a look. What if I make this a number? Nope, it doesn't work. Cannot normalize properly normal or none that create properly normalize or number. Okay. And then so I guess also for sure it doesn't work with other types. It doesn't work with array. Oh, it's there, but it's not really showing anything. It can normalize, but that's definitely not how it's supposed to work. So our guess is just the choice are just strings, right? So just in case, let's also try to run true. It doesn't work. All right, so this is really just string. How about the typical thing that the library tries to do? Make it a function, return 23. So this does work. Right, so this does work. And how about returning a promise resolve 1, 2, 3? It also works. Okay, that works. How about this correct choice is string? Nope. So the correct choice, this one has to be a number. How about is a function that return number? Nope, that doesn't work. So I probably don't have to try the other one with return a promise. Okay, so with that, we know that the result is something different. Right, so let's just copy one over here. We don't have this, and then this is called a quiz. So this is a quiz question, and then the answer is actually a type with a selected answer. Right, selected answer is a string, and then the correct answer is a string, and then correct is a boolean. Okay, so clearly this doesn't satisfy this guy, this answer, because the answer we have it is only this. So to do that, this is a quiz question up on in the prompts, right? So now, this is in, so now it comes to a interesting question. So remember, the way I organize the types is I have the function or whatever it is, the class, and then I have a namespace and put things inside. Right, so the benefit is that when you using the code, say for example over here, when we're using the code, if we are doing it like this, right, the number of things available are limited, and so if we want other things, the types, then we can drill down like this, right? So it tucked all those type inside, so it is easier to use. So now the question though is that for this one, what are we going to do? We have a function and then have a namespace, and then we have this type quiz question. So we want to have a answer. So one way we can do that is, yeah, just put it outside, quiz answer, and that equals to this. So then now this is just quiz answer. Okay. But then you having all those types at this level, right? And of course, another way is to have it further down, namespace, quiz question, and then underneath it you have this quiz answer, right? And then organize it that way. And in that case, it would be, you can even skip the quiz and just say answer, right? Because it's very clear that you're talking about a quiz question, and then the answer under the quiz question is the answer for the quiz question. So very simple and straightforward. So for this, well, we have that choice and we can choose either way. And if the thing is, if I my guideline is that if this type is associated with some kind of variable, so let's say it's actually a class, or it's actually a literal, maybe enum. Enum is actually kind of weird. I most of the time I don't use enum, and then those things, then it would make sense for me to drill down. And then another criteria is that if the number of things over here is so much that is getting confusing when we're using it, then I will drill down also. But in this case, right now, I will just keep it outside, parallel to this quiz question, because when we are using the types, right, it is easy to say, just like over here, say prompt and then get the type over here. Of course, it does not, because we are doing this destructuring. So let me get this prompt over here again, so that did I? Oh, probably because I missed this. Because you guys saw it, right? Because over here, then you can drill down. Oh, again, I do the stupid thing. I did the stupid thing. Once x, try to access the types, right? Not the variable. So organizing things like this looks okay to me right now for all the built-in, and it is relatively easy to access this, right? So I'm going to put this at the same level for now. And if in the future, when we have a lot and then we look at it, it seems like, oh, that's actually cumbersome, it's too big of a list and things like that, then we can reorganize it, right? So it's a preference. So right now, this is what I'm going to do. And with that, then over here, the answers we also have one is prompt quiz answer, right? So that it can be a quiz answer. Okay. Let me minimize this again. So we have that. Right, go back to here and go to the quiz question. So we definitely have the choices. And then this is an array. It doesn't make sense to be not an array. And then we already have this choice input. So let's see if that is correct. We accept string, promise of string, function that returns string promise. We haven't tried this one. And then these, we haven't tried these either. So if possible, we would like to reuse it. So we're going to just try that out. So how about this? Would it work? Yes, it would. Right, so that take care of this type. And how about this? It's just it's a choice. object or option, and then saying this name is 123, value is 123. Let's just keep it like that first. Let's see. Okay, that works. 1243. Yep. And then if we select it, the select answer is 1243, not the value. So while it works, it does not work as well as we wanted. Right. So let's say if we add a message to it, what will it show? It will show the message. If we select it, it's still selected the name. The value is not being used. So definitely this is supported, but the support is quite limited, right? Remember we get this from actually looking at the code. So, but well, unfortunately, given as we go through these series and look at all the tests, and maybe there was some old code in the existing code that this choice option, although it have this kind of definition, not all of them are really used, right? So well, because of that, I'll separate it. So now the question is again here, do I want to say quiz choice input, right? So since I'm under a different scope, this is under a problem, I can simplify the name a little bit. And then let's define it like this, right? And as you can see, this can quickly become unwinding. The concern I would have when we have too many of things, right? So we know that the message, in this case, the message is definitely optional, and the value is not being used, right? And how about the hint? So since we're at it, may as well to just try it out. Yeah, the hint is useful. It is in use. Is there any other one? What's the choices? So hint disabled. So that's the last one. If say disable true, what will happen? Yep, it is disabled. So the disabled is also in use. Right. So this guy, the choice option for the quiz actually behave like this. And well, the value is not being used. Right? The name is the value. The value doesn't make any sense. What if we remove the name? Oh, so the name is optional. What if I remove the value? And then the message is become the value. Oh, well, what can I say? That is definitely some merging issue. It merged the code and well, the options when it processed this choice, it have a bunch of Boolean expression and try its best to get the value. Maybe in JavaScript that is a good idea, but personally I don't think so. I want the user to know exactly what they are getting into and what does each property means and what's the effect. So because of that, I am going to restrict the type a little bit so that it makes sense, right? So we have seen that they all kind of work. Well, let's do one more thing. What will we do like this? The answer is empty, right? So of course, so it means it definitely needs to get at least one, right? So the value and the message and all that. So I, so it seems like from comparison, from just running a test, the name and value, the name take precedence of the value, and then which take precedence of the message. While when you're displaying, you use the message, and then well, it use the name, and then use the value. But when I'm typing this, I would say, well, forget all that. What does it make sense here? Name. I would say that is the value, 60-40 or 70-30 in this case, but I would prefer value over name. Right, so I would type this option to look like this. Take the value, message, hints, and disabled. So that's what this type is. Of course, another consideration is the overall consistency of the whole application, right? Depends on the other built-in prompts, how do they use these choices, and so on. I would guess they should behave the same, right? And if they're the same, then whatever I choose, they should behave the same. Then I can still freely choose it. But if over there to use name over value, then we need to look at the whole picture to see which one at the end we should choose. But for now, I would say, just given this one example, we will use the value. So this name, I'll keep it there, just comment it out and say to be removed if other prompts use value consistent. Okay, because I got to put something in there, because if not, next week after I'm done with these, and if we're not finished yet, next week I can come back, I will have no idea what this comment out things mean. Right, so, well, put a comment there. Okay, so that take care of the choice. So this is saying is quiz choice. And then there's a correct choice, which is a number. We have already shown that it can only be a number. And that's it. That's it. That should be sufficient for the type. And now we have to just add the test and prove it. So since the return value, we already showed that the choice can only be string. It cannot be anything else. So it means, it makes sense to copy from input. Right. So let's move things over here and take a look. Let's copy this. What's the original value? Yeah, 165. Although it doesn't really matter, but since we have an example, might as well keep it the same, so it's easier for people to relate and understand, right? Okay. And then this is quiz, and we need to add this quiz question to here. Okay. Oh, by the way, does it have initial? Right, so that's what the test telling me. Correct choice. Initial 2. Would it work? It's, so meaning this base question is should be combined with this initial. Oh, this initial. No, right? So the initial over here with initial is will be typed the same as the quiz answer, which definitely is not the case here. So this is separated over here, and in this case, this is a number, and it can only be a number. So as we're adding this, we want to also make sure that the other case is in fact usable. Yes. Let's change it to 1. Run it. Yes. So how about promise resolve 3? Yep. So this is good. So where we at? We can have the initial values. That's okay. That's still test the basic stuff. Now this initial value is let's say 1. Right. 1. So now you start seeing, you know, the again, of course, clearly the benefit of TypeScript, right? It shows you when you are doing something wrong. Oh, the format, right? See the power of test. I just copy and paste, and then if without looking at it, you know, I wouldn't really think about it, but it's there, and it is it means something, right? Because when there is a format, what do I mean? Does it make sense to have a format? So let's take a look. So we have the initial value, and then how about this format? What is the value? I actually wouldn't know, right? So does it even being called? Call with empty. Let's say type of value. Let's see, is it undefined? Oh, it's a string, it's an empty string. So the initial, well, this is a free. What does it mean by empty string? Boy. Yeah, it's an empty string. What does it mean? So if I select something, that is not being called again, that format. So I think that this is likely, well, it's a usability bug. It's not quote unquote a bug itself. And let's see, say for example, I return ABC, ABCD, whatever here. Does it change my output? Oh, it places it over here. How many countries are in the world? Dot dot dot, and then some selection. What does it mean? ASBC, and then over here is doing V185. Oh, no, hold on a second. Initial is 1, at least it should be 175. A, ABC, where the value is empty string. If I enter, then it format. Okay, yeah, so this being called choice, and is not doing well. It probably shouldn't be called at the beginning because it's empty, right? Or when it is called at the beginning before you making any selection, you should receive the initial value specified here, which should be 175, but that is not the case. So I would say very likely this is a bug. This is a bug. And but we can see that it is being used, so it is available. And then the format, the value again is different than the initial, and also different than the answer. So, boy, what can we say? What can we see? What can we say? Can we say how do we describe this? Because now we have to further extract this one out. Right. It's not that hard to do, but you can see that the whole thing start to not really break down, become messy. It's just become more messy. Let me think. So this T, I'm not going to type it. I'm not going to restrict the type. Or maybe I don't have to restrict the type because okay, that's another thing that can be shared and discussed. So you see, in TypeScript you can do T extends something to restrict the type, right? So now, sorry. So should I do it over here? Should I restrict it? Say, oh, it has to be a string or have to be or a number. We can see that over here this is a number, and then for the other one they are string and boolean and also the primitive types, right? That's likely the case, and so I can add it in. But the question though is, what's the benefit? What do I gain from that? And another question is, are the user going to abuse this accidentally that cause unexpected result? And my answer to that is likely no, right? Because not to mention that the initializer is not necessarily a good name. The user, when they see it, they have no idea what it is. And even if I name it correctly, because it's so detailed, inside the system, they probably wouldn't find out and use it directly anyway, right? They will use the different answers, different question. Not even this, right? This is a super class or super type of the actual type that they're going to use. So that's why I would not. I would tend to not do it. I tend to not do it because the reason is that's one less thing I have to worry about and update down the line. And I believe in my test to cover all the case that's needed. Right. So remember this though, that the type system, no matter it is this TypeScript gradual type system, which is excellent, or some statically typed language, right? The type there is, think of it as the compiler help you to eliminate a class of errors that can happen in your code to make it, at the end, improve your productivity. Right. So this is aligned with my comment saying that I use TypeScript as a tool, and in fact, the same statement can apply to any language itself, right? The language JavaScript, TypeScript, C#, Java, C, C++, Go. They are a expression tool for you to describe what you want the computer to do, right? Because at the end, everything goes back down to 0 and 1s, and a little bit higher than that, assembly. And do you want to write it in assembly? Are you capable of writing good code in assembly nowadays? Well, some does, of course, but the higher level language is developed to address that very expressiveness problem, right? It doesn't give you more things or more power, and in fact, if you write programs in assembly, right, the closer to the bare metal, the more power you have, right? Because you can mess around, you can mess with pointer to functions, and you can even think about, say buffer overflow, right? In the past, when the hardware was very, very limited, engineers or programmers actually utilize the in some case, of course, the buffer overflow as a feature to allow them to do something a little bit more efficiently than making 2 or 3 operations and context switch and do other things, right? So of course, I'm not saying that you should do that, even you're writing in assembly or in C or nowadays. But back in the days, there are such use case of the quote unquote feature, right? Of course, you should never nowadays think about buffer overflow is a feature. Right. So it's the same thing over here. So at the end, all of these are give you the power to express. Right. So well, I get pretty far. So let's get back here. So this is in initializer, and I'm going to change this. Change this soon, because this quickly become very messy, right? So, but let me just finish the work. Formatter E. And then now, well, over here, that becomes a problem. Actually, the initial, when it is a function, does it have the same problem? I actually don't know. I actually should take a look at it. The initial, we know that it take a function over here also. So well, if it's array function, it won't do anything. Return 1 console log is in initial. What do I get? Oh crap, I do get the prompt. So what should I do? What should I do, man? What should I do? Because when if I add that in, right, this will have the same problem with that like this formatter. The type is constrained, and it's constrained for the wrong thing. Because the prompt was designed was when we work on it, we thought that, oh, they are the same to the answer. This is aligned to the answer. But as we can see here, in this quiz question, is not really aligned. Right? So what can we do? Of course, we can still extend answer. So then the problem will go away. I guess, well, if that is the case, let's do it. Let's do it. Something wrong with my keyboard. Okay. So because this is internal, as I said, these are internal stuff. So as long, although for the initializer, you really shouldn't put in that quiz answer data type into it. Let's like say for this quiz answer or for any other type. But it's up to the usage, right? So there's a little bit of hole in there, some hole in the type system that is not tightened up. But hey, you can think of it, well, that is a little bit better than that, right? A little bit better than the type can be anything, right? We are restricted, but we are not restricting it as best as we can. So again, if I have a good suite of tests, I don't worry too much about it. Right. So now back to here. Now this really becomes a little bit more messy, and I guess it's the validate and the result have the same problem, because especially for this, right, for the quiz, the answer is have this selected answer. Oh, come on, here. Have this selected answer, correct answer, and correct. That's not going to pass to the result. That's not going to pass to the validate. So I would say that this is the same thing will happen to these two. These two, definitely. Well, I can, and at the same time, I can't really change this because of this prompt. I can improve upon it. I can improve upon it and make it two separate types. That would fix the problem. But one is the types for these values. One is the actual return value, the answer. Should I do that? Now I'm looking at this. I can leave that hole here, or I'm going to fix it. Of course, when there's an option, we tend to well, fix it. So yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's fix it. Let's fix it. So, well, it's part of the exercise. So how do we fix it? So we first need to separate the types. One is the answer. And so because it is answer, let's rename this as A. That is not A. This is the value. This is the. Hold on a second. Before I do that, let's go over both of this. Make sure that we get to the bottom of it. Don't assume. Don't assume. Right? We should be methodological and logical and base everything by facts. Base everything by the code that we saw and the code and the behavior that is exhibit. So this get a value. Result received value, and let's just returning value because this is a good example, right? Validate value console log validate. Let's just say that result value and return true. Get rid of this. But it's okay. Result received. Where's validate? Validate is not being called, but the result received is hey. That's not what we wanted. Right, this is what we wanted, and then the in this case the validate is not being called. Right, it's not being used at all. And then the result is actually when you define it, it overrides the existing result and give you something completely different. So it means the result here is the answer, wherever the answer is. And now okay, let me think. Let's put it this way. Should the result function to be used like this? Again, we're talking about well, a dynamic language JavaScript here, and the logic, what happened is simply, the option provided result value, let's use that one instead of the default one, even though the quiz, the default result is expect to return something very, very different like this, right? So now the question, so the question is, should you allow the user to do that? Right? In JavaScript, you don't have the type. Well, you don't have this complex type, so you can, and as you can see, it quote unquote works. However, should it? Should it? I would say that makes the code unnecessarily complex. Right. Of course, then again, there's definitely a use case for it, right? So the use case I can easily think about is that, hey, I am a user of the enquirer library, and then I like this quiz thing, but I don't like the return type, right? I want to change the return type, so I'm going to change it and just return the answer that the user select. And I don't care about the correct choice. Of course, I would ask, well, if that is the case, you don't even care about the correct choice or not. Why do you use this quiz? You can use some select. It's probably a list or whatever. We haven't looked into it yet, right? But it should do the same thing, or it's not a quiz anymore when you change that behavior. But no one prevent you from doing so. But however, I would still argue that, well, if that is the case, I would go ahead and extend, if you want to, extend the quiz prompt to a custom one and use that one. And in that prompt, the result is just a string, the selection, right? So that would be aligned with a new type and not changing the existing one. Because if some other people doesn't know and but they know that this is a quiz question, then the code will expect the answer to be in that format with the selected answer, correct answer, and correct. Right. So because of that, I would say this should align to the actual result, right, and not to the T. Right. What I'm saying is here, right, the return value should align to the actual answer and not the value in selection, right? In this case, the string. So let's do that refactoring. So this is answer, definitely. This is answer. And this should be answer. And the same as this one. And then we have a value. So this is the simpler one. That get this maybe also the array. Right? We don't know yet. We haven't get to it. But that's what it looks like. This would be V, and this would be V. And then the same thing over here. This is A, and this is B. And then this format is always a string. Right. And then as we just saw, the validate is not doesn't apply to quiz. So we should extract it. Like that. So Boolean string value, this is still, it needs the V and the A, the same thing. And very likely this result also. This result is, well, is the one that we talk about with this. So is there's, if there is a prompt that doesn't allow you to process or override the result function, my guess is no, but we will never know until we get that point. So I am going to keep this along with the type question, and then until there's such a case, then we will extract it out, right? Don't overdo things. So now, if we look at this become quite messy, right? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 types that is completely extra. For the others, it's still understandable as quiz question, toggle question, invisible question, and so on. So when the user try to get prompt dot, and then they will see all these questions and, oh, I understand those, right? But they probably won't understand this, right? And this becoming, so a lot. So what I'm going to do now is maybe it looks a little bit strange, or maybe it's not. What I'm going to do is create a artificial types namespace. You can call it anything. You can call it types. You can call it internal or internal types, or something like that. To actually let's call internal types, and then put all of these inside. Right, so again is about organization and about readability. So when you're putting all of them in here, when the user try to read it, they will see, hey, that is internal. That's something that I should not worry about, right? These are superclass, base class, whatever they are, right? It's nothing that I should touch. Then they will stay away from it, right? It's about this explanation to the user by using the correct name, right? So let's call this internal types, right? Or types, or any convention you like, right? But for me, let's do this internal types. So let's fix this. This is B. So now with that, I can even do more, right? Because now I completely free. The user shouldn't see this value, right? Is that, so this become value, and those, that is answer. So V value answer, all that, like that, and then so VA, and then this is also VA. Initialize, oh, because I haven't changed. So this is A, and then these are B. Right, like that. So we'll separate this, and then now it become all this naming thing, right? And as you can see, creating all these alias for different kind of combination is an n square problem, right? Even though we only have four things, but 4 means what? 15? Just how I'm not sure. I forget about a lot of this already, or 10. So I am going to change this to say, hey, forget it. Just get rid of that. So with that, I'm left with all these small little types. And so now this need to be more expressive, right? More expressive. So it's internal types dot okay, dot, there you go, type question, this is a string, and this and this. Oh, it's not a string anymore, it's a string. It have initializer, it have formatter, it have validator, right? Like that. Do I really want to do that for every single one? Do I? Be honest, I don't know. This looks bad, but at the same time, I definitely don't want to get those permutations, right? Yeah, okay. But repeating all of that is just kind of looks stupid. So let's do it for these guys, because we know that a lot of them have this. It's just it start breaking down when we start using the more specialized one, right? So we don't want to repeat the same thing for this all really over and over and over and over. The other ones we're not going to do anything about it, but for these, since they are really built-in and basic, so it's not a good name, but I know, but it serves the purpose like that. Well, if that's the case, I don't need this. Right, and can I do this? 102. It's a little bit too long, so let's keep it on the next line like this. Like that. Without the end, so it will stay the same, right? Of course, this will be long. Not too bad. So let's change that. Oh, that is a boolean, right? Yes. It's a number. No, let's do it like this. It's the copy and paste will be a little bit easier. This is string. This is string. And then, well, this I don't have a choice. This is boolean. And then this is boolean. Oh no, this is already is a base of. So this is this is what? This is, well, the good thing is I can figure it out by looking at the test. Implicit type any. Oh, holy, hold on. The type is input. The type is input have this common. Okay. V8. Be like that. Oh boy. What did I do? What did I do? Formatter. Form a v. The value is v. The value is v. I'm passing v in. Why this is any? Why this is any? Type value a value is string boolean number, and then for the input type I do put in string. let me just finish this one. The value is number. Oh, there you go. It's because of the error. It doesn't know what to do. Couldn't do the right thing. So with the error fix, this is shown up, and of course over here, this now is not correct. Let's take a look at it. The basic of, right? That's the importance of our having test. So this one have all of the others, but not the initialize. Right, so we have those and these two. Can you do it better? Internal types. So this is Boolean. The answer is Boolean. Same thing over here. Internal types. Okay. So that fixed the base off. And then this guy, as we've seen, the format is not, so let me remove it just for my own check. No, the format is there, but it's kind of really wasn't used correctly because it's get called with empty at the beginning. But it's there, it have some functionality. The validation is not. And then the result, we want to make sure that it's typed correctly, which I think it will. So we have formatter. And then also the initializer. So and in this case, this is the initializer is a number, and then the return is a quiz answer, and so as this the format, the answer type is a quiz answer, like that. So now all the errors goes away. Oh, so we already passed 9. So we have worked on this for an hour. So I think, you know, this is interesting stuff, right? I hope it's interesting stuff to you. So let's quickly recap. So we saw that the things start to break down, right? And different prompts use different types, and it is always good to actually look at the behavior and figure out the behavior, and that's why testing is important, right? You actually test the behavior, and we have found some bugs already. Right, so but because of that, we found out, well, for this quiz type, for example, we have it takes format to some degree. It takes a result which with they allow you to do incorrect thing, but we are going to restrict that and fix that in TypeScript to say that, hey, you should return the actual thing. So we will be adding a test for that. And then, and because of that, then the original type question, by the first step, we extract the initializers, and now we need to also extract the formatter and the validator, and then make everything composed like this. And we have this common question, is a bad name, but you know, to save some typing. And then another thing is we can create a artificial namespace, name it correctly so that the user, when they look at it, say, hey, this is something that I'm not going to touch, and put all the quote-unquote junks in there, so they don't have to worry about it. And then when they try to use your library, use your types is still clear what they supposed to do or how they supposed to use it. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this video and hope you learned something. So now it's your turn. Go out and start write some code. And we will see you in the next one. All right. See you. Bye-bye.